even small companies, they just have so much information that they've stored, or they haven't stored. That's a different problem altogether, right? But if you're at the point where you think you need some sort of BI tools, you probably have some information stored, and you could make decisions off of it. But without having somebody help you kind of distill that down and refine it down into the pieces that could be important to you, you may end up just looking at everything. It's hard to, draw importance from that. Like, are we doing good? Are we not doing good? Well, we have more records than we have last time. We have less. So being able to sit with somebody that's, gone down this path before and that can kind of make recommendations for, I've seen people in your industry or similar industries want to look at this kind of information, that can help, get those people that are in the day to day, get their creative juices flowing, and then they can start thinking, yeah, I would like to see something like that. That doesn't directly relate to us, but I could see that being important to how we look at our finances or we do our budgeting.
So those are all really great points. How would we start visiting with a typical company who has some information? Some of that information may not be convenient. It may be kind of scattered or in the wrong formats to be useful. What would be our first steps in a Better Way session?
I think the most important thing and the best first step is just to talk to the people that already care about that information, right? Like if you have your CFO or you have your scheduler or you have your person that's, the one that's tracking down why we're spending all these subscription fees, whatever it is, they already care about it. They already care about some process. So can you help take that care they already have and put some data behind it, or make their retrieval and analyzing part of it easier? Make their lives easier. Like, you already care about it. You're already tracking this down. You're writing stuff in 4 different Excel sheets. You're doing table math. In a meeting, you're getting this number ready to present to people. Can we help you make that process automated? Can we get that as a report sent out to you? And then you can go find the next thing that you really care about, or that really is important to you that you haven't had the time to get to. So I think finding those people that are already kind of looking for that information or already kind of care about it is the first good step.
That reminds me of a really important step that we almost always spend as much or more time on when we're doing business analysis: clean the data step. That's the categorize it properly. Often come into companies, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, your experience on it. But when we come into companies, it's pretty rare that the data is ready to be reported on. It's hidden behind the wrong categories. It's hidden behind the wrong information, or the calculation isn't intuitive on how you say this is actual sales versus some internal transfer or versus an expense isn't really an expense. It's going to be reimbursed later. What's the actual profits here? How do these things stack up? How do you not double count certain expenses that are just moving from one place to another because you set it up in accounting in a weird way 3 years ago or 10 years ago, and now you've adjusted your business and those categories aren't actually correct anymore, but you didn't bother changing it. That if you throw a BI tool at that, you pretty much get crap results. And it's interesting how we almost always, it's almost always a blind spot, but it's one of the most important steps is creating a clean spot for the data to live in, an interim cleaned data warehouse spot or cleaned up in the original system.
You run into that again, going back to like those off the shelf solutions, they allow you to do whatever you want, right? And so people are like, oh yeah, this will work for that. Let's use this field to store that from now on. And so when you go to report off, you're like, well, yeah, we kind of put notes in the person's name column, so you'll have to break something out from there. Or the other thing that's really important is when you come in as an outsider and you start asking questions on like what's important, those steps that they take, or the individual takes, or the people that care about it take, that aren't documented anywhere, that they just remember how to have to do them. They have to start saying them out loud, and that starts helping build out like, oh, okay, so that's why you do this in this field, or that's why you're using the notes, or this is why you're doing whatever they end up doing this more customized, weird, workflow that works for them, right? But it makes it really hard to report off of.